Pick a side, pick your poison. Pick a side, pick your poison.
Whoa, giant to a maggot, big boss status. Ain't gon' lie, I really wish they would. I ain't do no front and get my money on the back end. Yesterday's price ain't today, now we taxing. Way out the fear, ain't no way out for me. They always told me I'm the wave.
Good evening, this is Frank Rock. This is the House of Orange YouTube channel. Thanks for tuning in with me, guys. I want to hit the, been talking about it all week and finally getting around to be able to do it today. The baseball portal editions, been planning it all week. And then oddly enough, D1 Baseball today released their transfer portal rankings for baseball. And of course, that got released by some of the Tennessee outlets out here. But D1 ranked Tennessee with the third best transfer class in the country. And, you know, some of these sites just detailed it, talked about it. I'm going to get more in depth as to who Tennessee's bringing in, how it can help that team, what I like, some concerns I have as well, looking at just some of the numbers and stuff moving forward. But as always, guys, please share this out, like it, subscribe, share it out to anybody that likes Tennessee. It's a Tennessee baseball fan. The goal with this channel, above anything else, the most in-depth, comprehensive baseball coverage on all the web. All right. I'm not an insider. I'm not going to get inside access or anything like that. Who knows? Maybe one day, I guess, would be pretty cool. But videos, I'm really toying around with the idea right now of the first series is February 16th. And I'm thinking serious about testing it out and going live after that game. We'll see. We'll see. That's my goal with it is eventually. I don't know if it'll be this year. Maybe it's next year. But every baseball game, go live after it. That is the goal with this channel. That is what will happen. Whether that is this year, we'll see what the following's like. We'll see what the feedback is. But I want to get into it. Tennessee ranks third according to D1 Baseball, right behind LSU at 2. Wake Forest at 1. Obviously, we know who Wake Forest has brought in. Chase Burns coming in, and all these publications are high on Chase Burns at Wake Forest. We'll see how it goes. I mean, I wish him luck. I have no hate against him because I feel he gave it all. But now I'm going to focus on Tennessee and what Tennessee has brought in. I'm going to start with the hitters first, and basically the two standout additions from the portal. One, Billy Amick, 2023 first-team All-American, according to College Baseball Foundation, Collegiate Baseball, and NCBWA. He was a second-team All-American by ABCA and a third-team All-American by Perfect Game. Perfect Game released their preseason rankings and their preseason All-Americans earlier. Amick is listed as a second-team preseason All-American as well. So his stats last year, looking at 414, 13 home runs, 63 RBIs, and this is some of the stats that I was kind of curious about. So he had 167 at bats, 32 Ks. So that's about a 19%. So you're looking at about a guy who puts the ball in play about 1 out of every 5 at bats. Or I'm sorry, puts it in play 4 out of every 5 at bats, strikes out 1 on average. Okay. Right now it's showing Billy Amick's will come in and play third base for Tennessee. Of course, there's the question about Zane Denton. What's he going to do? He announced he's coming back, but he wasn't with the team in the fall. And from what I've seen, there's really no official word as to what he's doing. Is he playing? Is he attending to some issues on the side? So it still remains to be seen. I think we'll probably know once Tennessee gets into full, getting ready for spring camp, basically. Should be right around the corner that they'll be. And I would imagine they'll have some press conferences with Tony Vitello. And I'm sure that question will get answered as well. But as of right now, Billy Amick looks like he'll be playing third base. Now, he DH some at Clemson. He can play first base as well. I thought it was interesting. I was going back reading some of the stuff about the fall ball with Tennessee. And per their request, Blake Burke and Christian Moore actually played some outfield in the fall. I don't know if that's something that they'll toy around with during the season or not, but it seems like they do have those options, as there's some guys who do have some, or that does have some flexibility out there. I was reading about Amick and him playing third base in the fall, and it sounds like he did decent, but he's not a Jake Rucker who was a vacuum over at third base. It doesn't sound like. So is that something that regardless, you're going to have that bat in the lineup. Hitting 414 last year. What's he going to do in Knoxville and Lindsey Nelson Stadium? That's a hitter's ballpark. I'm curious to see what his numbers are. Granted, it's going to be against the SEC, but make no mistake about it. The ACC is a pretty good baseball conference as well. It's not a joke by any stretch of the imagination. So that's kind of the headliner in this portal class. The other one that's big, because Tennessee had such issues here last year, was the catcher position. They brought in Cannon Peebles from North Carolina State. He was a first-team freshman All-American who hit .352 with 12 homers, 50 RBIs. His K rate was 29 in 142 at-bats. So he's about 20% as well. He's putting the ball in play 4 out of every 5 times on average. He has a catcher in front of him at North Carolina State who's first-team All-American. Therefore, he wants to catch, so he's coming to Tennessee. So that's going to be a question. What's his defense like? I know that the catchers get questioned a lot at Tennessee. I don't know the philosophy. I've seen people saying, well, they don't worry that much about the base runner, but they do throw over a lot. If they're not worried about the base runner, I don't know. I wouldn't think they would throw over for picks as much as they do. But so that, that's something I want to watch a little more this year. But Peebles will add that bat. I felt last year, especially at the end of the year, you had 2 spots in that lineup that were almost automatic outs. That was the catcher position. And although Christian Scott did well, he hit pretty well in conference play. When we got to the tournament, he had a rough tournament. And I thought those positions down toward the bottom were almost automatic outs, almost like you were hitting 7 on 9. If those guys got a hit, it was big, and it normally led to some kind of rally along the way. So Peebles, that adds a bat to this lineup. Another one that's going to have plenty of bats in it. The third guy who doesn't get mentioned as much as a hitter was Dalton Bargo, who transferred in from Missouri. He was a freshman last year, so he have up to 3 years of eligibility left. Of course, if he has to redshirt along the way, he'll get another one. But 279, 5 home runs, 23 RBIs, 44 Ks, 165 at bats, so about 27%. About one out of every 4 at bats he's striking out, putting in play about 3 out of every 4 at bats. This is a guy who caught. This is a guy who can play some first base. This is a guy who can play some outfield as well. A lot of versatility. So you could look at him at DH because you're going to have Blake Burke at first. You're going to have Amick at third. You're going to have Peoples behind the plate. Maybe they switch them out a little bit with the midweek games. You're going to have plenty of depth in that outfield. As you're going to have Inslee, you're going to have Dreiling, you're going to have Tiers as well. What I like here, Amick brings a right-handed bat to the lineup. Peebles, switch hitter. Bargo is a lefty. And this lineup has plenty of lefties in it. Most of the outfield guys, Inslee's your righty. The rest are pretty much left-handers. So this does add another left-handed bat to the lineup. But I think it's a guy who, I don't know if he'll be a regular, but he'll definitely be a guy who can make some contributions. A very versatile guy there. So that's 3 good additions to this lineup. 2 of them, you can count on. They're going to be middle of the lineup guys. Billy Amick's going to be a middle lineup guy. I feel Peebles will be in that range as well. I would seriously think about hitting Billy Amick leadoff. That's me. I like to have a dude. I like to have a tone setter at the top, but I know Amick only had 2 stolen bases. Is there a guy? Probably not a guy that's going to hit 414. But is there a guy who's a good contact, a good on-base percentage guy with some speed who can make something happen? It's not really Tennessee's forte. So does that change a little bit this year? And that's going to bring me just a video later on. I really want to cook up. Based on Tony Vitello's style of ball, can he get it done in Omaha? All right, I think that's an interesting topic to bring up. But then so that's the hitters. Now I'm going to switch to the pitchers. A.J. Causey comes from Jacksonville State. And I thought his numbers were interesting. In 22, he served as the closer for Jacksonville State. Last year, he went back to the mound. He went back to the starting rotation. He was a starter, 5.07 ERA, 76.1 innings pitched, 89 strikeouts, 12 home runs given up, 273 batting average. Those numbers concern me a little bit pitching in Lindsey Nelson Stadium. Will this guy be a starter? Will he come out of the pen? I think right now it's looking at Drew Beam Friday night. You're probably looking at A.J. Russell on Saturday, and then they've got a number of options. I seen Tony Vitello talking about it, that he could work an opener and then, 2 or 3 innings and go from there. They're going to have a lot of depth. Some of it's unproven, maybe more than not unproven, but there's going to be enough depth to where he could work that in. You have Nate Snead, who's one I know they were high on, 3.16 ERA at Wichita State last year, 42 2/3 innings pitched, 53 Ks. Only gave up 1 home run and a 230 batting average. This is a guy, from what I've read, can throw some heat. He started 1 game, mainly come out of the pen, had a few saves last year. Do they stretch him out, look at him as a starter? Could he be a closer? Could he be that closer this year? Obviously, Chase Burns took over that role, not there anymore. I don't need to go real in depth with that, but could Snead be that guy that takes over that closer role? It's open right now. There are some options there. That's something I'm going to start getting into, breaking this baseball down, hopefully day by day moving forward. And then the last guy they brought in was Chris Stamos from Cal. Okay, he's going to be a super senior. Some of his numbers here I'm a little curious about. 2022, he had an 8.49 ERA. Last year, he had a 5.82 ERA. His numbers last year, he had 21 2/3 innings pitched, 31 Ks, gave up 5 home runs, 281 batting average. This, again, a guy, super senior, a guy who they added late, but he is another left-handed arm. I don't think you can have enough lefties. You're going to have Kirby Cannell. Hopefully you get Wyatt Evans back. There's other dudes in that pen. What's Xander Sechrist going to do? Is he going to be a midweek starter? Could he be a weekend starter as well? Stamos definitely will come out of that pen some, I believe. And so does Causey, does Snead, does one of those guys start? Obviously, Causey did it last year. But I think one thing that they're probably looking at here, and you get into those analytics is those strikeouts per night. Stamos, 12.88 per nine. He was the highest on Cal's staff last year. Again, Snead, 53 Ks, 42 2/3 innings. Causey, 89, 76 1/3 innings. So I think it's some interesting additions. How are they going to manage that? Again, I think I like Snead. I like what he brings. I like his numbers. I like what he brings. I have a little bit of concern on the other two, but I do trust in this staff that they've seen something in these two guys that they could come in and make happen with them. But I hope you enjoyed what I brought to you again. That's the 6 additions. Obviously, there were additions from JUCO that were a part of the signing class, plus the freshmen, plus your returning guys, which we'll get into later on. But just wanted to hit on that. I had planned on it all week. Just so happened D1 hit it today, and it gets out there. Coincidental timing, I guess. But we'll continue. Again, most comprehensive, most in-depth baseball coverage around. I hope you'll share it out if you like the coverage and the baseball guys. Baseball people, not just guys, but women as well out there. But Frank Rock, this is the House of Orange. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I'll be coming at you again later tonight. As soon as the basketball game's over, I'm going to come up, record a post-game recap. I'll record as well. And as Tennessee goes to Mississippi State, 7 p.m. SEC Network. But you guys have a good evening. Take care, and go Vols.